Okay, I thought I'd do a video on handguns, as I believe our economy is going to get weaker and weaker. Unemployment benefits are going to run out. People aren't going to find work. I believe the crime rate will keep going up. So with more armed robberies, more home invasions, there's a couple of handguns I personally recommend. Now first, I want to state the obvious. If you're going to have a firearm, learn to break it down, clean it, and maintain your gun. It's so obvious, but people don't remember to frequently clean it if you frequently carry it around. Think about it. Rain, dirt, lint, spilled coffee, all kinds of junk gets in there. Especially if your life may depend on it, make sure it's in working order. Second, use hollow point ammunition. Don't use ball ammo. You never want to be in a situation where you might have to use a firearm to defend your life. If you knew where and when that would be, you wouldn't be there at that time. But if you do have to, you just want to deal with that one person. Not one of your neighbors, not somebody just jogging by. Ball ammo can overpenetrate. There could be children sleeping next door. Pay the extra couple of bucks for hollow point ammunition. Not only to protect yourself with the greater deposit of energy when it hits the person, but also to protect innocent bystanders from overpenetration. Now, with that out of the way, if you're doing this on a really tight budget, I'd be looking maybe at a P95, Ruger P95. It's a 9mm. A friend of mine has one of these. He loves it. I like that gun myself. I've put plenty of rounds through it. It's reliable. It's accurate. It's a real lightweight gun. Easy to maintain. He got it for right over 400 bucks. It's a real deal of a gun. You can also go with the Ruger P94, the 40 caliber version. 40 cal fits somewhere between 9 and 45. It has a little bit more recoil than a 9mm, but not so much, where you can still get a good follow-up shot. And it's got a little bit more stopping power. Not as much as a 45 since it's a little smaller, but it's still got some good knockdown power. Personally, I'm buying silver with whatever extra money I can hoard up. I've got enough guns. I've only got so many family members, and having a whole wall of guns wouldn't really help me out. There's only so many I could use. Silver's my priority, and priorities first. But if I wasn't doing that, I'd really be looking at an HK, a USP 45, probably the tactical version. That thing is mean. It's accurate. It's light, reliable. It holds 13 rounds of my favorite caliber, the 45, but it's 1,100 bucks. That's what I paid for my AR. There's a lot more I can do with that money. Another good option, I've seen 357 Magnums around for good prices. You can obviously shoot 357 Magnum in a 357 Magnum gun, but you can also shoot the cheaper 38 caliber. It's not the other way around. If you put 357 Magnum ammo in a 38 revolver, it'll probably blow up on you. So just get a good 357 Magnum, load it up with 38 hollow points. You take your 357 Magnum ammo, put it aside. If you ever need it, it's right there. If you need that extra power, it's right there. And if not, you've got 38 ready to go. It's two guns in one. I've seen a couple around for like 250 bucks. They were used Smith & Wessons. There was nothing wrong with these guns. I mean, the bluing was a little worn. It had some scratches. One of the grips was, had some wear and tear on it, but nothing wrong with the function of the gun. Just pure cosmetics. Get some bluing kit and fix it up. It's meant to be a workhorse. You don't go and buy a nice, pretty pair of work boots. It's the same concept here. Really good gun, and they're 2-in-1. I'd go with the name brand on that too. I saw another one that was a $270. I forget what brand. I think it was a Taurus, but you know, go with the name brand. Personally, my favorite gun, probably of all of them, is my 1991 A1. It's an updated version of the 1911, which I have one of those too. But here we are. I'm not going to bother to safety or check them for ammo. I've only got one loaded gun in the house, and it's got 12 gauge in it. But this is my 1991. The only thing I've done to this, or I've done a couple things actually, but the most important thing right here, the mainspring housing when I got this gun, it was plastic. Not polymer, but plastic. I could bend it in my hand. I could cut it with a knife. I didn't feel right with a piece of plastic holding my mainspring, so I went on eBay, found one that looked just like the original, but made of blued steel. Put that on there. There you go. Of course, I put some G.O.O.D grips on there. Nothing special on that. I just saw them at a good deal, and I couldn't pass them up. They're really comfy. That's what I like about it, you know. And I put a shock buffer in there. You can get shock buffers for a packet of 6, 12, something like that for $5. Put them in there. I figured, you know, let the shock buffer crack before it starts wearing up my spring guide rod. So there you are. That's all I've done to this. This is a really good gun. I love this thing. Colt 1991 A1. This is my brother's Beretta 92 FS. It's a 9mm. This thing, it's, you know, the Beretta is light. It's accurate. It was designed to absorb recoil. The testing way surpassed the life expectancy of the gun. Now, 9mm does not have as much stopping power as a 45. So instead of the standard 115 grain, my brother loads it with 147 grain hollow points. You should see these when it hits a water jug. It makes a mess. We're talking, you know, stopping power. It tears up water jugs. It tears up clay. He paid right over $600, if I remember correctly. Probably 2-3 years ago. I paid, I think it was right over $7 for mine. This is probably 5 years ago. Same thing on this Beretta. We put G.O.O.D grips, nothing fancy. Now the G.O.O.D grips, it kind of makes it kind of wide, but it's got low recoil, so it's not really that big of a problem. The same as mine, mainspring housing was plastic on this one. So we went on eBay, found one that we thought was identical, and put it on there. The only difference is that the loop, instead of facing this way, it was facing the opposite way. But, you know, who cares? It's got the mainspring secure in there in blued steel. First thing we did to this gun is the mainspring guide rod. It was plastic. That controls all the recoil. So, went on eBay, find a blued steel one, and put it in there. That's the rod right under the barrel. See that? That was plastic. Didn't like that. Swapped it out. Done. Really good, reliable gun. And then here's this is a 1911. It's an Armsco High Standard 45. I paid right over $400. This is 2 months ago, 3 months ago. This one came with a metal mainspring housing already. So I like that. I thought I was going to have to swap it out, but I didn't. The only thing I had to do to this one, or I didn't have to, but I'm kind of the lucky at winning the unlucky lottery. When I first got this gun, it wouldn't eject magazines. It was really tight. I pulled it out. I checked it out. After doing some research, it looked like I had a .38 caliber slide stop. So I emailed the company. I sent them a scan of my receipt. Sent them a picture of the number 2 slide stop. They sent me a number 1 45 slide stop. There was no problem there. They took care of me. I had to wait like a week and a half or something because they're from the Philippines, but they took care of me. It still was a little tight. I put the slide stop off my 1991 in this gun, and it worked really smooth. So I went to midway.com. I bought a Colt factory original slide stop, put it in there, took it to the range. It works flawlessly now. So I recommend this gun if you get the $22 slide stop. I also put the shock buffer in there too. I had they come in packets of 12. I don't remember how long it's so long ago, but I had a whole bunch sitting around. I threw one in there too. And the grips, it came with some really ugly grips. So I put the grips off the 1991 that were just laying around, put them on here. Nothing fancy about it, just thought it looked nicer than the ugly ones. The only issue we've had with any of these guns is buying factory surplus ammunition. Factory surplus magazines. My brother had one that it started out jamming every 5, and then it got toward the point that the same day at the range it was jamming on every 1. I had one magazine that was jamming every 2 to 3 shots. We got rid of the surplus magazines, we got rid of the problem. Now, real quick on the slide stop, get a Colt factory original. Colt is used kind of loosely out there. So when you take out the slide stop, this is your slide stop. Right here. It looks kind of like a stairwell on your standard. The Colt is more rounded. It's like so. Your standard generic looks like a stair step. The Colt will be rounded. Only the Colt factory originals are rounded. This one, the magazines get stuck. You've got to yank them out. With the Colt slide stop, they eject no problem. It's a really good gun with that one part. And I've put a couple of slide stops in there, and the Colt was the only one that worked. Now, I'm personally not a Glock guy. I know there's guys out there that love them and say they should be thrown in the mix, but I'm not crazy about the Glock. First off, a lot of people get them because of Die Hard 2, where they hear the Glock going through the metal detector. Man, that's not your standard Glock. That's a very expensive gun, and you don't need that. That's like the 17 or 18. That's not your cheap Glock. I don't see what the obsession is personally. It's an alright gun, but I like mine to have a little bit more heft. Now, I will admit that carrying around a Glock all day would be more comfortable than carrying this guy around, but I'll stick with my Colt.